Hello everyone and welcome back to the reaction channel and happy Father's Day everyone. I hope you are doing well and hope you are loving your fathers. Today we're going to be reacting to the top 10 worst fathers by Joshscorcher. And we have watched the best and the worst of his analysis of the top 10 worst mothers, and I think he did a pretty good job. He hasn't posted out the best fathers, unfortunately, which is pretty sad because I think fathers are pretty, pretty badass and should get some recognition instead of, the bad father is the reason why things go bad in the first place or whatever. But anyway, will you please hit those, tiny buttons down below? It will be very, very um helpful for me. And just leave a comment if you want to see something for me to react to. So, yes, let's continue and let's watch this.
This video is brought to you by Glitch Energy, clean, crash-free energy and focus boost
Glitch.
with delicious flavors. Use code Joshscorcher at checkout to get a significant discount off your order. Level up your game with Glitch Energy
Oh,
today.
Scorcher.
When
Oops.
we made Worst Mothers, we had a decent pool of candidates to choose from. Not too little, but not too much either. This, on the other hand...
Oh, there's a lot.
To say that most game
There's
developers
so
have
much.
daddy issues is a gargantuan understatement. Same rules and criteria as before. Let's jump right into it.
Here we go. Let's do the intro. Ooh, okay, let's do this. Oh, I think I seen this one. Okay, I'm sorry to pause it early, but I watched Markiplier's horror RPG games, and that was the one of I think it's called Mad Doctor. Yeah, Mad Doctor. Yo, that was an incredible game because it such has a very good and very complex characters and with very good story as well. I highly recommend for you guys to play it, or you want to watch his videos. But yeah.
You'd struggle to find a series more filled to the brim with horrible parenting than Ace Attorney. We got quite the cast of patriarchal
God.
monsters. So
Yep.
the obvious choice is Manfred von Karma, right? Raised his daughter with horribly high standards, killed Miles's father, and adopted him to mold him into a pawn. You know, the works. But there's an even worse candidate sitting right above him in the legal totem pole. Excelsius Winner. Excelsior!
Wow.
Before you're introduced to the man himself, you meet his son Eustace, a little bundle of issues who seem to fail upwards through law school into becoming a rookie prosecutor under the direct supervision of the Committee for Prosecutorial Excellence, which Excelsius is head of. What's telling is that dear old dad doesn't oversee his son directly, instead letting Judge Verity Cavell act as his handler. It's when the fourth case comes around and Excelsius comes in direct conflict with Edgeworth that you learn just how deplorable this guy is. He's the man who gave Manfred the infraction that set off his crimes, so you'd expect some kind of professional, as what's essentially the chairman of the legal board of directors. Nope, he's a sarcastic bully who doesn't give a damn about how he comes across to other people, including his own son. He'll just casually insult his own flesh and blood for really no reason, completely offhandedly, while Eustace is too ignorant to realize just how openly Excelsius holds him in contempt. In fact, Eustace runs to his father's defense throughout the case. It all comes to a head when Excelsius is on the ropes, and infuriated at how badly his son is defending him, he just lets the truth out. Every achievement Eustace thought he had, all his good grades, literally his entire career, was orchestrated by him. Oh, not out of the goodness of his heart, of course not. He just wanted a pawn, a stupid little pawn that could be manipulated however he wanted. And while Eustace is rightfully devastated by this truth, Excelsius just doesn't care in the slightest how much he shattered his son's worldview. He just wanted him out of the room. After you thankfully prove his guilt, Excelsius doesn't even have the common decency to leave the story, as he's still trying to worm his way out of the consequences of his actions, down to kidnapping Gavel's son. One small problem, though. His men ended up kidnapping Eustace instead. After Miles has to console and talk Eustace out of a full-blown mental breakdown, he ends up gaining the courage to take down his father once and for all. And Excelsius shows absolutely no remorse for literally any of the abuse he put Eustace through. Eustace becomes a
Of
better
course.
man and gains so much competency just by forsaking his father. In a series like Ace Attorney that throws so many awful, villainous characters at you in each installment, not even all the candle just how detestable Excelsius is. He's not even fun as a villain. He's just a horrible person and an even worse father. When the best you can say about him is that at least he didn't intentionally kidnap his own son, that speaks volumes about how low the bar for this list is. Get it? Bar, lawyer.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I knew Ace Attorney was gonna be here eventually because Jesus, there's so many like people that are so bad that it just be so funny. Like you know how it just sometimes people just do all these evil things. You be like, there's like a bit of humor of it. Like how like what? Like it just it's so like bizarre to be honest with you, but yeah. And to be honest, I feel like you can grab any type of game and replace each of these fathers because there is just so many. But I think he's just grabbing the ones that in his mind are like the worst bunch. And I can't blame him because there's so many. But still, that was a good start. And that's number 10. So let's see what the others are.
I have no need for you anymore.
Oh my god. Yeah, oh yeah, but yeah, he's a bad father. Okay. Yep. I remember him while I was playing a game. That game, I forgot what it was. It Black or White, something like that. But yeah, I also watched the anime as well, and holy Christ, he sucks.
You know the list is gonna have some heavy hitters when Getsis is only number 9. When you
Yeah,
think of
and
Team
it's number
Plasma,
9,
what do
dude.
you think of? PETA-esque Pokemon Liberation? Renaissance outfits? One of the best anti-heroes in gaming? Yeah, probably. Maybe Getsis, too. I don't know. It's not that Getsis doesn't do anything. He certainly plays the role of a leader and a master manipulator to the people of Unova. But throughout the story, he really finds himself constantly outshone by bisexual Dream Boy. I mean,
Excuse me,
N.
what?
That's not necessarily bad, it just means N is a more prominent character, and he is a wonderful one at that. The thing about N is that the reason he believes what he does and attempts to fix the world through conquest and force is because of Getsis. Getsis found N at a young age and adopted him. The favors end there. From then on, throughout N's entire life, Getsis brought injured Pokemon to his child son to convince him that human coexistence was a problem. Fact check, Getsis didn't give a solitary fuck about humans living with Pokemon. He's been in it for the world domination this whole time. You see, if humans were convinced to release their Pokemon because it was the right thing to do, eventually humans would be left, well, without defense. Without Pokemon. This guy genuinely had this in his mind for over 2 decades and spent all of N's childhood using battered, probably bloody, and psychologically broken Pokemon to brainwash him into believing Pokemon and humans should live separately. Then when N came of age and could take over Team Plasma, a total facade by the way, because Getsis is still definitely in charge, he could begin to go about Unova doing his brainwashed cult mission work. Because of course, Getsis couldn't do this himself. He had to get a child involved.
Forget your destiny and always follow your heart, for your spirit is good, pure, and innocent.
And there is nothing more beautiful and terrifying than innocence.
Every Pokemon game, mostly, has a fantastic villain conducting that title's parade of evil deeds. Cyrus is arguably more evil than Getsis, and Lucamine,
I
well, we
mean,
had the other list for her. However, it's not
yeah.
out of the ordinary to point out that Getsis is still rotten to the core as a person, but especially as a father. There's wanting to take over the world of Pokemon for megalomaniacal reasons, and then there's conditioning some child that isn't even your own to do your bidding through some warped ideas about animal abuse. Yeah, maybe Getsis shouldn't really be so overshadowed after all.
And he's number 9. Holy shit. I feel, dude, Pokemon has this unique ability to just bring characters that are just evil. Like, there's nothing redeemable about them. Like, I feel like Skeletor from for Masters of the Universe will be a perfect character in the Pokemon series because they're just evil guys. I played a mobile game, Pokemon, I think EX, I think that was it called, and there was a storyline where there was some henchmen that knew their master treated them like garbage, and yet they want to serve them. And it's crazy because that is how humanity like works. It doesn't matter for them to be treating them so shitly as long as they had like some sort of purpose, some sort of like action they could do, then they'll do it. And it's like, jeez, man, it's crazy. Pokemon, it takes a lot of huge topics. Number 8. This is gonna be something.
You know that meme we showed for To the King and 5 Great Villain Songs? Yeah, guess frickin' who? Let me take you back to
Oh
ancient
no!
times.
Oh, I know. I think I know who it is. I think I know who he is. Let's just say Power White.
By the Moth Tribe. Everything is fine until another higher being of the void shows up and ruins everything. Moths get pissy and try to stay in the memories of the people via infection, mind you. And what is the higher being? The
Ooh.
Pale King's solution?
Kids.
Yeah, heaven forbid
Yep.
him essentially colonizing
Yep.
Howlnest and feeling retribution for it being his problem. No, to seal the light of the Radiance, leader of the Moths, the Pale King must find a mindless, voiceless, willless void of emotion vessel to contain the infection. You'd think a ruler would use prisoners, criminals, peasants, or others to experiment such a tall order on, but no, straight for his children. And he fails. Frequently. Thousands of times. Eventually, the sealing of the Radiance does technically work with the pure vessel / titular Hollow Knight, but through a tiny silent cutscene in the White Palace, we know that the young pure vessel had some emotional bond with the Pale King. And that's why it inevitably cracked into the much weaker Hollow Knight. So not only does the Pale King sacrifice his own children to contain a brain infection that was his fault, but he creates zero emotional bond with them whatsoever because that would make them vessels that don't work. The titular Hollow Knight is the only one shown to have an emotional bond with the Pale King, but the hundreds of thousands of dead vessel children may have all had similar emotional bonds, whether their dad reciprocated or not. Who knows how many vessels he sacrificed ahead of time just because he knew their emotional state would render them improper for the greater purpose of winning some political syphilis battle. The Pale King does have a living heir in Hornet, but it's never implied that he gives a fuck about her other than her nursery in the White Palace. And let's be honest with ourselves, Hornet could not be paid to care about her deadbeat and actually dead dad.
Yeah.
I suppose that's part of the reason why the Pale King isn't any higher. He's cold and commits genocide against his own bloodline, but, well, he himself has also bit the dust and isn't around for us to watch him actively treat his children like garbage, as we will beautifully see with some later entries.
Oh,
All in all,
shit.
the Pale
Oh,
King may
okay.
not be the
I
worst
thought
of the
I was
worst,
to
but
say.
there are certainly ample points to be earned for making your kids taste death early on as punishment for having emotions. You know, Asgore is looking way less bad now.
Damn. Damn, that's saying something. But yeah, so he has killed a lot of kids just to seal the Radiant. And it's just like, damn, dude, you could have at least like, I don't know, like build something instead of, every time you had to go to your lady, you had to keep making a bunch of abortions. It's crazy. But I don't think we ever get an answer how he died. For me, I feel like he committed suicide. I think that's the answer because, well, if he was killed by his, the void, then there should have been some type of remnants of the void, like a bunch of like black goo, but there isn't. It's just a hollow shell. So it could be possible that he just ended his own life. Maybe he didn't care about it. But who knows? How the universe of Hollow Knight is very how would I put it? Very well, sort of like Dark Souls. You only had to take a bunch of dialogues and a bunch of items and many other things to try to connect the dots, and there's a lot of connections. Okay, number 7.
All right, another Fire Emblem parent. Let's see where this one comes from. This again? All right, one of the writers for this game needs therapy because the
The
second act of this
oh
game is
no.
parental issues galore. The tragedy in Nurgle, Sonia's abuse of Nino, and finally Zephiel's two-part family drama. Today's culprit, the preceding king of Bern, Desmond. As an entitled king, Desmond cares only about his own pure-blooded legacy. Yet he was
Of course.
arranged to marry Queen Helena of Arturia as an act of peace between the nations. Together, they bore Zephiel, who is slated to be the heir of Bern. Desmond, hating the fact that a child of mixed blood will take his throne, treats Zephiel less than favorably, so much that he'd rather bear an illegitimate child in an attempt to replace Zephiel as heir. And of course, when she got along well with Zephiel, it only further fuels Desmond's hatred for him, accusing Zephiel of trying to take his beloved daughter away. And when Zephiel gifted Guinevere with a pet fox, take a wild guess what Desmond does. Would you believe me when I say all that only barely scratches the surface?
Oh, shocking. I didn't know.
Tried to kill him too. Many times, in fact. Hired the Black Fang to do it, tried to poison him on his coronation day, and according to Guinevere, he even plotted to go after members of Zephiel's extended family. But of course, karma bites back as Zephiel faked his own death to lure his father where he could be slain, ending the reign of this mad king and kicking off the next one, led by the prince now far too jaded and ruined from his father's torment. Desmond is no powerful conqueror or cunning politician. He's simply a foolish coward given power. Power to torment a child who deserved none of this wrath born from entitlement to his own blood. Power that he never deserved. Thanks to him, Alip's future turned grim, and the lives of greater men became casualties. That doesn't excuse Zephiel, mind you. He still chose his dark path. But man, with a father like that, it takes a saint not to just snap and break everything.
Yeah, I just got a phone call. Hello? Oh, it's Game of Thrones. They want you to be in their show. Number 6. Oh,
I want
Jesus.
to take a step back to talk about a father who gets way too much flack despite being one of the best in gaming. Heihachi from Tekken. I don't know where the flack comes from.
Oh, jeez. Oh, I just had a flashback. Oh my god. Okay, so I never play the games, but I I always go online to see what lore that's very interesting on the gaming community, and this motherfucker. Oh shit, this guy. Whew. Okay.
Whenever
Continue.
Heihachi's on screen with his favorite child, the love that oozes from him always brings a tear to my eye. After all, there's no better love than a man and his bear.
Wait a minute.
Oh, right. Heihachi is a good father figure to his bear pupil, Kuma. His human children?
Nah, fuck him.
Yeah, calling Heihachi a good father in any way puts a bad taste in my mouth. But there was a time when it was true. Before the death of his wife, Heihachi treated his son Kazuya well, believing in his potential. But then Kazuya turned against his father after finding out he killed his mother. And things went sour
He just
from there.
throw his
Instead of
ass out.
explaining to Kazuya that his mother inherited the devil gene and it was a mercy kill, he just threw him into a ravine hoping to kill him. But instead awoke the devil gene inside Kazuya instead. Well, that backfired.
I made a boo-boo, yeah.
Heihachi did raise Kazuya again after this, but only as a means to an end. This is actually how he treated most of his sons after this. He adopted lead chaplain just to irritate Kazuya and act as a persistent rival. He raised Jin, his grandson, to lure out Ogre, and then shot him once he didn't have any more use for him. And despite wanting to team up with his illegitimate son Lars, once Lars regained his memories, he even hated Heihachi trying to kill him. Dang, dude, how are you this awful? Funny enough, he actually might be more of a girl dad. He was impressed with Xiao Yu enough to bring her on board, and his illegitimate daughter Reina actually likes him for some reason.
Oh,
I don't get it either, Blank.
Anyone
I
you consider
remember
a
now. Yeah.
son? Yeah, they're either shot, flown into space, or dropped into a volcano. Wonder Kazuya and Jin wanted to take over the world. At least Jin snapped out of it. What else can I say about Heihachi? He is notorious as one of the most persistent villains and bad fathers in gaming. At least he finally got his end in Tekken 7. Oh, wait. I forgot Harada will never let him die.
No.
Oh, no. I say when we're done.
Yeah, oh my god. Well, there's nothing for me to say, so that's number 5.
Being a horrible father comes
Oh,
with the
not this
territory
shit
of having
again.
absolutely no most sympathy from the audience. So let's take that to the extreme. Let's bring in someone infamous
Oh,
for
okay,
being
never
one of
mind.
the most intentionally hateable trolls in gaming.
Welcome to Pandora, kiddo.
That's right,
Oh,
Jackie Boy managed to cement himself on another list. There's so much you can say about Handsome Jack. He's a corporate monster who's completely convinced he's the savior of Pandora, bring order to bandits that, more often than not, are just people resisting his tyrannical iron fist, all the while hitting you with some of the funniest lines any villain ever uttered.
You know what? Screw you. It would have been hilarious if I found it earlier. Shut up!
But Handsome Jack isn't all jokes, and Borderlands 2 hits you with the twist that your guardian angel this entire time isn't just working for him, but is his own siren daughter. So, he's been using his daughter to spy on and manipulate the Vault Hunters. Following the trends of this list, you'd assume Jack has no love for Angel and only sees her as a tool, yeah?
Oh, you'd think so, wouldn't you?
Jack actually cares a lot about Angel. He's super protective of her. As it turns out, though, this love manifests in just the worst possible treatment. Years before the events of the series, Angel ended up tragically killing her mother, and Jack decided to hide Angel away from the world to protect her from everything. And hide her away he did, to the point of hooking her up to a machine that constantly pumped her full of iridium to charge the vault key. Angel has become so dependent on this that
wow.
unplugging her from the control core and taking her off the constant supply of iridium, which, for reference, can be used to horrifically mutate pretty much anything that isn't a siren, will kill her. So he didn't kill her, but the state she's in cannot be called living at all.
You're not dead, but you're not exactly living either. It's sort of like being in summer school.
She begs you to
Yeah,
unplug
sort
her,
of.
begs you to kill her, while Jack gaslights both you and her that he's just protecting an innocent girl. And the thing is, he sounds genuine, so utterly delusional that he's done absolutely nothing wrong to Angel. Unlike everyone else on this list, Handsome Jack genuinely cares about Angel as his daughter, but that love has
It is
completely
very,
destroyed her.
yeah.
Sure, he mourns her. Sure, he calls her his daughter, but in Angel's own words, Jack ended her life years ago. You're just letting her rest. It's one thing to hate
Damn.
your child. It's another thing entirely to believe you're doing the best for them, all the while destroying any possible future they could have. Handsome Jack believed he was giving Angel the best life he could, but at the end of the day, intentions kinda don't matter, especially if your child believes death is preferable to the life you gave them. If that happens, you failed as a parent.
Oh my Christ, dude. I never played the Borderline games, but jeez, man. That shit. Oh my God. Ooh, jeez. Now I just and again, there's just so many bad fathers. It's just insane. I just feel like we're still scratching the surface. Number 4. Oh boy. What's after the father of just
William Afton!
oh, of course, yep, of course. But I knew he was gonna be in there. But why is he so fucking this low? I thought he's gonna be number 1, but or 2, but whatever.
Big Bad FNAF is, quite unsurprisingly, an equally bad father. This animatronic-obsessed child murderer wouldn't be introduced until the game that killed the dream theory for good, FNAF's sister location. And even then, he's more in the background than some of our previous candidates. But that just leads us nicely to the main reason Afton is this high. His negligence. He left his kids to their own devices while he locked himself away from his family so he could work on his killer robots. Oh, sure, he set up cameras to watch them, but he also left his eldest son, Michael, in charge of babysitting his little brother. The end result is Hereditary, with fewer deer and more bears. Oh, but don't worry, guys. Willie won't let the same thing happen to his eldest son. All he has to do is keep him from sneaking out of the house by psychologically tormenting Michael with the nightmare animatronics. But hey,
Yep.
he's the one who killed his little brother, completely ignoring the fact that William should have been there to stop it from happening in the first place. Oh, but at least Michael's not sneaking out of the house to visit his brother's grave out of the guilt that he would carry for the rest of his life. Oh, gosh. No wonder Michael after will grow up to become Freddie Carter. And if that wasn't enough, William would be so hands-off that his daughter would end up swallowed whole by an animatronic of his own creation. You'd think the repeated warnings not to play with Circus Baby would be a sign that he actually cared, but nope. Not only does he not mourn the loss of his daughter, but he's actually excited that he gets to use his daughter's death as an opportunity to experiment with Remnant. This guy would kill it as a Roblox CEO.
Oh no! Oh
Remember the
jeez!
FNAF movie? You know, the timeline where Vanessa is William's daughter? Yeah, the fact that she has traumatic visions of him should show you just how terrifying he was to her. Oh, there's also the fact that he tried to murder her at the end of the first movie. No big deal. William Afton is worse than negligent. He's a violent psychopath who psychologically torments his children and sees the damage and death they face as opportunities to feed his obsession with robots. The only child of his that he mourns is the one Michael kills, and even then, his attitude is to put it back together. Gee, who would have guessed that a child murderer shouldn't be allowed to have children? Have fun playing Ultimate Custom Night for all eternity, buddy. Oh yeah, he comes back in Help Wanted as Glitch Trap. Whoops.
I always come back.
Oh boy. Number 3. Jesus.
One of the reasons I have a writing team is they often find really obscure things that work for these lists that I never would have found on my own. And they found a doozy this
Ugly.
time. Ugly is a puzzle platformer starring a character who is, well,
Ugly.
He has the ability to create mirrors that he can use to teleport to opposite areas and even salvage memories from the past. And speaking of the past, he ventures through a mansion full of shattered mirrors as well as covered paintings and statues. He finds entities made of bandages, paint, crystals, locks, and drunkenness?
What the
What exactly
fuck?
happened here? What even are these creatures? Well, through those salvaged memories, we're about to find out. Once upon a time, there was a prince. He's vain, selfish, and worst of all, hellishly abusive. He tormented his son for a lifetime just because he was ugly, and even forced him to wear a mask so that he could cover his unsightliness. The son's mother and pet dog tried to protect him, and they were killed for it. Since then, the prince has not only groomed his son to follow his twisted etiquette, but when one of the servants actually likes his son just as he is, he pushed one straw too far by heating up the mask and gluing it on the son's face? Now I know what you're thinking. If he hates his son so much, why not just make He pushed one straw too far by heating up the mask and gluing it on the son's face? Now I know what you're thinking. If he hates his son so much, why not just make more children? Well, you're gonna wish he didn't. He did, in fact, court his own maid so that they would bear more children for him, all in hopes that he'd get one that's up to his standards. Yet, with every attempt, every child is no less ugly than the other. And with no beauty to behold, they're nothing more than fleshy firewood to him. Yeah, fun fact, that's how babies are at birth. They're not gonna be an exact mini clone of the parents. That's literally the point of growing up. Throughout the game, you think you were playing as the son, reliving the trauma of all the abuse his father put him through. But once you get to the final memory, you'll find out that the character you were playing as was the prince all along. It's revealed that his servants revolted and poisoned him during a party, which led to him seeing the reflection of what he really is on the inside. So he shattered the mirror, which led to his mansion burning down. And so the prince suffered the consequences of his demonic vanity. All his scars left him bandaged, and out of shame he covered pictures of himself with paint, shattered mirrors so he never has to see himself again, locked every door so no one could see him, and drank all his problems away so he'd forget everything. It's some good old divine retribution. The prince was vain and abusive, so he had his beauty and luxury taken away, and his inner demons tormenting him. So, fitting end, right? Well, not quite. There's more game after this. If you could somehow stomach yourself to keep playing after this fucking swine, you'll uncover the truth behind everything. What's truly lying deep inside of the prince's repressed memories. What do we find out? The prince was never disfigured. All that happened to him was he got a tiny scar on his face. So, that was all it took to delude the prince into believing that he's disfigured, to the point of drowning his memories and masquerading as his son. I have no words. I mean, how can I describe how blood-boilingly narcissistic that is? This fucker mutilated his son's livelihood just for not living up to his perfect image, and after that has the nerve to delude himself into being him, all over a single fucking scar. Ugh. There's a bright side to this. At least the prince reflected on how evil and pathetic pathetic he truly is. So now that he is healthy in both body and mind, he can finally use that to do the most noble thing he can for the good of everyone. Killing the villain of the story.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Dude. First of all, that was a crazy ass twist. I thought we were gonna play as the son, but no, we're playing as the prince himself. And the reason why he's been doing all this bullshit, having sex with a bunch of underage girls just to have a child and then throw them into the fucking burner. Then burn using a mask so that he could force his first son to wear it. And not only that, but also heat it up and do some Doctor Doom shit. And then he just gets so pissed off because he is just like he just can't believe that he has a scar. There's nothing to say. It's all there. Like, there's nothing to bring up. There's nothing for me to analyze. It's just there. God damn, dude. And this is number 3. What's number 2? Oh my god. I never heard of this game.
Knows that, depending on the writing, gods can be kinda awful.
Oh,
The God of War games decided
yeah.
to take it a step further by showcasing some gods as abusive parents who would rather use their kids as tools or straight up kill them. Honestly, Zeus was a strong contender for what he did to Kratos. But I decided to give the spotlight of shame to the Norse a-hole, Odin, the all-father of the 9 realms and king of the Aesir.
Number
He's
2,
a master manipulator who seeks knowledge above all else. More specifically, knowledge of destiny and how to control his fate. It was written that he would perish at Ragnarok, and he'll do whatever it takes to save his own skin. Of course, that includes relying on his chess pieces. Tax write-offs.
Damn.
Children. Here, Odin has 4 sons. Thor, Tyr, Heimdall, and Balder. Each cursed with a horrible upbringing. Heimdall probably has it the easiest because he's shown to be the most loyal to Odin, and I'm pretty sure that's because he literally made him that way. Meanwhile, he took advantage of Balder's invulnerability curse by dangling the hope of being cured just out of his reach. But then we kind of kill Balder, and how does Odin respond?
But Balder, he had value. He was my best tracker, my closer. Yeah, his mind was gone, sure. But he had his uses, and now he's gone because of you. You follow me?
Not even a fake tear to shed. He saw Balder as nothing more than a tool to further his wishes, and he's only mildly annoyed that he's gone. Tyr made the unfortunate mistake of going against Daddy Dearest, and was given the pettiest treatment of all. He was locked away for the rest of his life, while Odin disguised himself as Tyr to gain information, and tarnish his own son's reputation for not seeing things his way. And Thor? Thor probably had it the worst of all. All Thor ever wanted was the approval of his father, while all Odin wanted from him was a pack mule. He constantly puts his firstborn down, insults his intellect, callously mocks Thor's dead children right in front of him, and tries to mold him into a mindless killing machine. He also physically abused Thor as a child and tried to undo his hard work of going sober. And when Thor finally stands his ground against dear old Papa, Odin doesn't even hesitate to kill him. Honestly, it was nail-biting trying to decide between Zeus and Odin. While Zeus tried to kill Kratos out of paranoia, Odin went above and beyond even that. He shattered one son's self-confidence, tarnished another's good name out of pettiness, emotionally groomed another to be the perfect yes man, and gave his youngest false hopes while barely batting an eye at his demise. His children were nothing more than a means to an end, disposable once they outlived their usefulness. In the end, his panicking over Ragnarok ended up being a self-fulfilling prophecy, as his desire to change the future led him to push everyone away until the whole kingdom wanted him dead. Beating his scrawny butt to a pulp shouldn't have been as satisfying as it was, but any chance to kick a monster's teeth in and bring some semblance of justice to his children makes it all worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, Odin is probably up there with, Zeus, and Odin is just a scrawny motherfucker. He's just this master manipulator, while Zeus is just like enjoy like toying with his like food, you know? And it's just I feel sad when Thor was killed off like that, man. Like he could have been such a good like best friend for Kratos because they're basically one and the same of like the same coin, you know. Kratos was like molded as a killer just like Thor, but Kratos managed to get over it and try to change himself. While Thor, he just became this killer and always be this killer. He never once ever thought of maybe a different path because he just wanted his father's approval, and all the other kids they got absolutely shat on. But yeah, all right, this honorable mention. So let's go. Number 2. What's number 1, dude? I'm very curious.
Dread. You're not my dad. You're a glorified sperm donor. Legard.
Damn.
His daughter evolved mankind like he asked for. How does he return the favor? Revolt against her. The storyteller, Leighton versus Wright. Sure, he loves his daughter, but raising her in a cult to suppress her trauma and neglect her when she's suicidal is still awful parenting. Racial Ghoul, Batman Arkham.
Oh,
it might
okay,
be the
of course.
Lazarus Pit talking for him, but I don't take kindly to a cult leader dads willing to bargain their child's life and, outright kill them. Brad Armstrong, Lisa the Painful. He's not wrong that Buddy should be protected from the world, but he kind of undermined his point by being a mass murderer. Zephaniah Man.
Oh yeah, I thought he was gonna be number 1.
In the comics, where he tries to smother his kid because he's ugly. Oh, deja vu. Giovanni, Pokemon, abandoning Silver for the sake of petty crime. Masayoshi Shido, Persona 5. Impregnated a sex worker and then abandoned their love child, who then grew up to be an unhinged madman. Oh, and his subconsciousness may or may not have ended up killing his own son. It's unclear.
Number 1.
Warning. This segment contains discussion of sexual abuse.
Oh, okay.
While nothing explicit will be shown, those who are uncomfortable with the subject matter...
Oh, I'm ready for this one. Who's number 1?
Omineko, When They Cry, is a visual novel infamous for both its biblical length and the amount of emotional gut punches it pulls. To summarize a long story, it focuses on the doomed fate of the dysfunctional Ushiромiyas, a rich family with a lot of issues, to put it lightly. On the night of October 4th, 1986, the entire family is slaughtered by the Golden Witch Beatrice as the family's sins are left open for each other to see. And at the core of all their problems lies one festering source, the family patriarch, one Kinzo Ushimiya. Kinzo passes the bar for this list with absolute flying colors, committing nearly every sin a parent could find in raising. All 4 of his children carry boatloads of issues as they competed to be heir to Kinzo's massive fortune. And Kinzo's disdain for his own kids and ruthlessly high standards is brought up again and again as a catalyst for the adults' traumas. From the moment they were born, Kinzo enforced an incredibly rigid and sexist familial structure. The males were expected to become masters of the house, while the females were treated as nothing more than accessories.
Of course.
Born after 1993 can't toast.
This led to a pecking order where his kids continued his own abuse among each other. And despite their best efforts, it's clear that it affects their relationships with their own children. For just one example, we have Kraus. Even when he's an adult, Kinzo still treats him like a child while simultaneously trying to mold him into a successor. Something that Kraus is clearly not equipped to deal with. This is a painfully realistic example of how abuse is passed down in families. And given that this game's creator was originally a social worker, you can tell he's speaking from some experience. Kinzo was a strong believer in both corporal punishment and emotional abuse. But once his kids all grew up into successful adults, you'd think that would be good enough for him, right? Nope. Because in his elder years, all the Ushidomiyas could think of was inheritance. Money, money, and only money, to the point where even after he had died, the current successor hid the news of his death. The threat of an unseen Kinzo even being alive was enough to turn everyone at each other's throats. All Kinzo cared about was Beatrice, the Golden Witch said to have granted Kinzo his fortune and gold. A lust love he was willing to throw everything away for. family included, just to
Damn.
see one last time. You'd think this would be his one saving grace, but the truth of the matter is harrowing. See, as a young man, Kinzo was forced into the seat of power against his will by the elders of the Yoshiromiya clan, forced into a loveless marriage. With nothing left to live for, Kinzo enlisted in World War II hoping to die. Here, Kinzo would meet Beatrice I, the daughter of an Italian officer, and ended up having a secret relationship with her. This eventually resulted in her having a child, Beatrice II. Unfortunately, Beatrice Sr. died giving birth. This affected Kinzo greatly. It got even worse when Beatrice II grew into the spitting image of her mother. This eventually drove him to isolate her from the world, believing her to be a reincarnation of her mother and, well...
お父様、私はお父様のことを敬愛いたしております。でも、そのお父様の気持ちには、
Yep. Kinzo committed the absolute worst action a parent can do to their child. Beatrice II's own child, we'll just call her Beatrice III, the one who would don the moniker of the Golden Witch, was separated from Kinzo by his staff at birth out of fear of him repeating his sins with them. A domino effect that ended in the mass murder of the Ushiромiyas. Kinzo managed to make it to #1 with one sole action, but he had a laundry list of atrocities long before it was shown to the audience. It's no exaggeration to say that nearly every bad thing that happens on the human side of Umineko can, in some way, be traced back to him. He's the ultimate example of how the cycle of abuse can annihilate an entire family.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah, I think he takes #1. He 100% takes #1 because throughout the previous other entry, they did awful things. They did absolutely awful things, but they're so imaginary. Like they're so outlandish that you think you cannot think a human being would ever do this. Well, some of them would, but for #1, that was a real way to be the worst father of them all, because that hits home so effectively. Oh god. Yeah. Well, guys, I want to close this with saying, be sure to always love your fathers. Be sure to always talk to them. Always ask them for advices. Tell them about the stories of how they become who they are, the lessons, everything. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.